A young woman missed the job interview that could change her life to help a stranger in a wheelchair, and that stranger turned out to be a billionaire who wanted her as a daughter-in-law. Before we start, drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. And rate this story from 0 to 10 at the end. Let's go. Please, can someone help me? Zoe Parker heard the voice and knew immediately she was going to be late. She checked her watch. 10:47 a.m. The interview at Sterling Industries was at 11 o'clock. But there was an elderly woman in a wheelchair stuck in what looked like the world's worst sidewalk crack, and everyone was just walking past her. Of course they were. Zoe took a deep breath, adjusted her portfolio, and jogged over. Hold on, I've got you. The woman looked up, relief flooding her face. She had silver hair pulled into an elegant bun and eyes that were sharp despite her age. Thank you, dear. I thought I'd be here until next Tuesday. Zoe crouched down and examined the wheel. It was wedged deep. Really deep. Okay, this might take a minute. Take your time. I've got nowhere to be. Zoe pulled. Nothing. Pulled harder. Still nothing. What did you run over, a bear trap? The woman laughed. Feels like it, doesn't it? Zoe braced her foot against the curb and yanked with everything she had. The wheel popped free with a sound like a gunshot, and she nearly fell backward. You're free. The woman smiled warmly. You're a lifesaver. What's your name? Zoe. Zoe Parker. Catherine Sterling. Lovely to meet you, Zoe. Zoe froze. Sterling? Like Sterling Industries. The very same. Oh no. Oh no. Zoe glanced at her watch. 10:52. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Sterling, but I have to run. I have an interview at Sterling Industries? Yes. At 11, and if I don't leave right now. Catherine held up a hand. Then go. Quickly. Zoe grabbed her portfolio and sprinted down the sidewalk in heels that were absolutely not made for sprinting. She made it to the Sterling Industries building at 11:04. 4 minutes late. The receptionist gave her a sympathetic look. I'm sorry, Miss Parker. The interviews ended at 11 sharp. Mr. Harrison doesn't see late arrivals. But it was only 4 minutes. I was helping. Company policy. I'm sorry. Zoe felt her chest tighten. This was the 5th interview she'd had this month. The 5th rejection. She walked out of the building, sat on the front steps, and let herself feel terrible for exactly 30 seconds. Then her phone rang. A known number. Hello. Zoe Parker? It was a male voice. Professional. Clipped. Yes. This is James Harrison, head of HR at Sterling Industries. Zoe sat up straighter. Mr. Harrison. I'm so sorry about being late. I was helping someone and... I know. Mrs. Sterling called me. She'd like to meet with you. What? Can you come back to the building? She's waiting in the executive lounge. Zoe stood up so fast she almost dropped her phone. Yes, I'll be right there. 10th floor. Ask for Catherine. He hung up. Zoe stared at her phone, trying to process what just happened. Then she ran back inside. The executive lounge was nothing like the sterile waiting room downstairs. It had floor-to-ceiling windows, plush leather chairs, and art that probably cost more than Zoe's entire apartment. Catherine Sterling sat by the window, looking perfectly at ease. Zoe, come sit. Zoe sat, feeling very aware of how wrinkled her blazer was from all the running. Mrs. Sterling, I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing. You helped a stranger even though it cost you something important. That tells me more about your character than any interview question could. Zoe blinked. So, I'm not in trouble? Trouble? Dear, I want to offer you something. The job. Catherine smiled. Not exactly. A door opened and a man walked in. Tall, dark hair, sharp suit. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine about successful people who intimidate regular humans. Zoe, this is my son, Daniel. Daniel Sterling nodded politely. Miss Parker. Hi, Zoe managed. Catherine folded her hands. Daniel needs a wife. Silence. Zoe looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at his mother like she'd lost her mind. Mother. And you, Zoe, Need a job and financial stability. I'm sorry, what? I'm proposing a contract marriage. 1 year. You marry Daniel, help him secure his inheritance, and in return, you get a generous salary, housing, and a recommendation that will open any door in this city. Zoe's brain was doing the thing where it just stopped processing information. You want me to marry your son? Yes. Your son who I just met. Correct. Because I helped you on the sidewalk. Precisely. Daniel pinched the bridge of his nose. Mother, you can't just propose to strangers on people's behalf. I can, and I just did. Catherine turned to Zoe. What do you say? Zoe looked at Daniel. He looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. She looked at Catherine. The woman was completely serious. Then Zoe thought about her bank account, the eviction notice, the student loans, the rejection emails piling up in her inbox. How generous are we talking? 15 minutes later, Zoe was in a conference room staring at a contract. Daniel sat across from her, looking resigned. This is insane, Zoe said. Agreed. Your mother is a force of nature. I know. Zoe scanned the contract. $50,000. Up front. Plus a penthouse apartment and a car. Why do you need to be married for your inheritance? Daniel sighed. My father's will has a morality clause. I have to be married by my 35th birthday or the company goes to my cousin. When's your birthday? 3 weeks. And you don't have a girlfriend? I did. She left me for my cousin. Zoe winced. Ouch. Indeed. She looked at the contract again. 1 year. Separate bedrooms. No actual relationship required. Just public appearances and family events. What happens after the year? Clean divorce. No strings. You walk away with a full year's salary and recommendations from every major company in the city. Zoe bit her lip. This was crazy. Absolutely crazy. But it was also the only option she had. Okay. Daniel looked up. Okay. I'll do it. He stared at her like she just agreed to jump off a bridge. You're serious? I'm desperate. There's a difference. Zoe grabbed the pen. Where do I sign? 1 week later, Zoe was standing in front of a mirror in a bridal boutique, wearing a dress that cost more than her college tuition. Catherine sat behind her, beaming. You look beautiful. I look like I'm playing dress up. Nonsense. You look like Daniel's bride. The words felt weird. Daniel's bride. She barely knew the man. Although, to be fair, she'd seen him exactly 4 times since signing the contract. Each time, he'd been polite, distant, clearly going through the motions. The wedding coordinator burst in. We have a problem. The flowers are wrong. Catherine stood smoothly. I'll handle it. Zoe, stay here. I'll be right back. The door closed, and Zoe was alone with her reflection. A bride. She was going to be a bride. To a man she didn't love. For money. Her phone buzzed. Text from her best friend Maya. Are you insane? Zoe texted back. Probably. You can't marry a stranger. Watch me. Zoe. Seriously. Maya. I'm about to be evicted. This solves everything. What about love? Zoe looked at her reflection. The dress. The venue. The entire fairy tale setup that was completely fake. Love doesn't pay rent. She put the phone down and took a deep breath. This was fine. It was just a job. A weird, legally binding job that involved pretending to be married. But still, a job. The door opened. Daniel walked in, stopped, and stared. You're not supposed to see me before the wedding, Zoe said. Bad luck. I don't believe in luck. I believe in contracts and expectations. He paused. You look nice. Thanks. You look uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable. Want to run away? Daniel almost smiled. Tempting. They stood there for a moment, 2 people about to make the worst decision of their lives. Are you sure about this? Daniel asked quietly. No. You. Not even a little. Zoe laughed. Great. We're both insane. At least we're insane together. And despite everything, Zoe felt herself relax slightly. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. The wedding was small. Immediate family only. Which for Daniel meant about 40 people, and for Zoe meant Maya, who showed up looking scandalized. I can't believe you're actually doing this. Believe it. He's hot though. I'll give you that. Maya. What? I'm just saying. If you're going to fake marry someone, at least he's easy to look at. The ceremony was quick. Professional. The officiant asked if they took each other. They both said yes, and suddenly Zoe was married. Mrs. Zoe Sterling. It felt like a costume. At the reception, Catherine pulled her aside. You did wonderfully. I said 12 words. And you meant all of them. That's what matters. Zoe looked across the room where Daniel was talking to some business associates. He looked miserable. Does he hate me? He doesn't know you well enough to hate you. Catherine patted her hand. Give it time. Daniel's been hurt. He doesn't trust easily. Neither do I. Then you're perfect for each other. Zoe wasn't sure about that, but she nodded anyway. Later, when the reception was winding down, Daniel found her on the balcony. Hiding. Strategically retreating, Zoe said. You. Same. They stood in silence, watching the city lights. So, Zoe said finally, what happens now? Now we go home. You take the master bedroom. I'll take the guest room. Very romantic. Daniel gave her a look. This isn't a romance. I know. I was joking. Oh. He cleared his throat. Right. More silence. Then Daniel said, my mother likes you. Your mother likes that I helped her. There's a difference. Maybe. But she has good instincts about people. Zoe glanced at him. Do you? I thought I did. Then my fiancé left me for my cousin, so clearly not. That's rough. It was. Daniel turned to face her. Look, I know this is weird, but I'll try to make it as painless as possible. You do your thing, I'll do mine, and in a year we both walk away with what we need. Sounds like a solid business plan. It is a business plan. Right. Zoe extended her hand. Partners. Daniel shook it. Partners. His hand was warm, steady, and for just a second, Zoe wondered what it would be like if this was real. Then she let go. Let's go home, husband. Daniel's mouth twitched. Let's go home, wife. And just like that, Zoe Parker became Zoe Sterling. A fake wife with a real contract and absolutely no idea what she was getting herself into. The penthouse was insane. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Marble countertops. A bathroom bigger than Zoe's old apartment. This is where you live? Zoe asked, spinning in a slow circle. Where we live, Daniel corrected. For the next year. But we. Daniel showed her to the master bedroom. King-size bed. Walk-in closet. A view of the entire city. I'll be down the hall if you need anything. Daniel turned. Thank you. For all of this. It's a contract. No need to thank me. Still. He nodded and left, closing the door behind him. Zoe sat on the bed and pulled out her phone. Text from Maya. How's married life? Weird. Fancy. Very fake. Is he nice at least? Zoe thought about it. Daniel was polite. Respectful. Completely closed off emotionally. He's fine. It's fine. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement. It's not a real marriage, Maya. It's a job. A job where you live with a hot billionaire. Some people have all the luck. Zoe laughed and set down the phone. Then she changed into pajamas, climbed into the most comfortable bed she'd ever felt, and tried to process that this was her life now. Fake wife. Real penthouse. Contract marriage. It was like a romance novel, except without the romance. Just the novel. The first week was awkward. They moved around each other like strangers in a hotel. Polite. Careful. Never quite making eye contact. Daniel left for work at 6 a.m. every day. Zoe spent her time job hunting and trying not to feel like she was living in a museum. But on Friday night, Catherine called. Dinner tomorrow. The family wants to meet you properly. Zoe's stomach dropped. The whole family? Just 20 or so people. Very casual. 20 people is not casual. Wear something nice. Daniel will pick you up at 6. She hung up before Zoe could argue. Zoe found Daniel in his home office, buried in paperwork. Your mom called. I know. Family dinner. She said 20 people. That's actually small for us. Daniel looked up. Are you nervous? Terrified. Don't be. Just smile and let them talk. They love to hear themselves. Wow. Harsh. Honest. He went back to his papers. Wear the blue dress. Mother likes blue. How do you know I have a blue dress? Mother bought you 12 dresses. One of them is blue. Zoe blinked. She bought me dresses? She bought you an entire wardrobe. It's in your closet. When? While we were at the wedding. Zoe went to her closet and opened it. He was right. Designer clothes. Accessories. Everything perfectly organized by color. She grabbed her phone and called Catherine. You bought me clothes? Of course, dear. You can't meet the family in your interview suit. Mrs. Sterling. Catherine. And your family now. Let me spoil you a little. Zoe felt her throat tighten. Thank you. No need. Just wear the blue dress tomorrow. Daniel will love it. He suggested the blue dress. Catherine laughed. Did he? How interesting. She hung up, and Zoe stood there holding a dress that probably cost more than her car. This family was something else. The next evening, Daniel knocked on her door. Ready? Zoe opened the door wearing the blue dress. It fit perfectly. Daniel stopped. Just stopped and stared. What? Zoe asked, suddenly self-conscious. Nothing. You look. He cleared his throat. Nice. You already said that at the wedding. I'm saying it again. They drove to Catherine's house in silence. When they pulled up, Zoe saw a mansion that made the penthouse look small. This is casual? For my family, yes. Inside, people were everywhere. Talking. Laughing. Drinking expensive wine. Catherine swooped in immediately. Zoe, you wore the dress. You have good taste. I know. She looped her arm through Zoe's. Meet everyone. The next hour was a blur of names and faces. Cousins. Aunts. Uncles. Business partners who were apparently also family friends. Everyone was polite. Everyone asked questions. And everyone clearly wondered why Daniel had married a stranger. Then Zoe met Marcus. Daniel's cousin. He was tall. Handsome. And his smile was predatory. So you're the mystery bride. That's me. How did you two meet? Zoe glanced at Daniel, who was across the room talking to an uncle. I helped his mother. How noble. Marcus stepped closer. You know, Daniel and I are competing for control of Sterling Industries. I heard. Did you also hear that his ex-fiancée left him for me? Zoe kept her face neutral. I did. And you still married him? Brave. Marcus leaned in. Or desperate. Excuse me? Come on. A nobody from nowhere marries a Sterling right before his inheritance deadline? It's obvious what this is. Zoe felt her face heat. And what is it? A transaction. Maybe. But it's none of your business. Marcus smiled. Everything involving Sterling Industries is my business. A hand landed on Zoe's shoulder. Daniel. Marcus. Always a pleasure. Daniel. Congratulations on the wedding. Very sudden. When you know, you know. Marcus looked between them, clearly not buying it. Oh, good luck. You'll need it. He walked away, and Daniel's jaw was tight. Ignore him. He's a piece of work. That's putting it mildly. Daniel handed her a glass of wine. You okay? Yeah. Just, that guy is the worst. Agreed. They stood there, and Zoe realized something. For the first time all week, they were actually talking. Like real people. Can I ask you something? Zoe said. Sure. Why did she leave you for him? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Because Marcus offered her something I couldn't. What? Excitement. Drama. He's unpredictable. I'm not. He paused. She said I was boring. You're not boring. You don't know me well enough to say that. Maybe not. But I know Marcus is terrible, So by default, you're better? Daniel almost smiled. That's a low bar. But you cleared it. He looked at her, really looked at her, and something shifted. Thank you. For what? For being here. For doing this. He hesitated. For helping my mother. I didn't do it for a reward. I know. That's why she likes you. Before Zoe could respond, Catherine clinked her glass. Everyone. I'd like to make a toast. The room went quiet. Catherine smiled at Zoe and Daniel. To my son and his beautiful bride. May your marriage be filled with love, laughter, and the occasional surprise. Everyone raised their glasses. Zoe glanced at Daniel. He was looking at his mother with an expression that was part exasperation, part affection. To surprises, Daniel murmured. To surprises, Zoe echoed. They clinked glasses, and for just a second, it almost felt real. 2 weeks into the marriage, something changed. Daniel started coming home earlier. They'd have dinner together. Talk about their days. It was still polite. Still careful. But it was something. One night, Zoe was cooking pasta when Daniel walked in. You cook? Shocking, I know. I didn't mean. I'm kidding. It's how I stayed alive in college. Daniel loosened his tie. Can I help? Zoe almost dropped the spoon. You want to help? Is that weird? A little. But okay. Chop the vegetables. They worked in silence for a while. Then Daniel said, I talked to the board today. How'd it go? They're satisfied. The marriage secured the inheritance. So mission accomplished. Yes. More silence. Then Zoe said, Does it feel weird to you? That we're married but not really? Daniel stopped chopping. Every day. But I'm not the only one. He smiled. Actually smiled. You're not. They ate dinner on the couch, watching a cooking show, and it was the most normal Zoe had felt since this whole thing started. This is nice, she said without thinking. It is. We should do it again. Okay. And just like that, they had a routine. A month in, Catherine invited them to brunch. How's married life? Fine, Daniel said. It's good, Zoe added. Catherine looked between them, clearly seeing more than they wanted to show. You're getting along. We have a contract, Daniel said. We're being professional. Catherine sipped her tea. Professional. Is that what we're calling it? Mother. I'm just saying. You two seem comfortable together. Zoe jumped in. We're just following the agreement. Of course you are. Catherine smiled. But agreements change. People change. After brunch, Daniel was quiet on the drive home. You okay? Zoe asked. My mother has a way of seeing things that aren't there. What do you mean? She thinks this is becoming real. Zoe's heart did something weird. Is it? Daniel pulled into the parking garage. I don't know. They sat there in silence. Then Zoe said, Would that be so bad? Just because in 10 months you leave. And I don't. He stopped. I don't want to care about someone who's going to leave. Daniel? It's easier if we keep it professional. Like the contract says. He got out of the car and walked away. Zoe sat there, feeling something crack in her chest. Because she was starting to care too. And that wasn't part of the plan. That night, Zoe couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Daniel's words. About the contract. About the fact that in 10 months, she'd walk away with money and recommendations and nothing else. Was that really what she wanted? At 2 a.m., she heard noise from the kitchen. She found Daniel making coffee. Can't sleep? She asked. He jumped. You scared me. Sorry. Mind if I join you? Go ahead. They sat at the counter, drinking coffee in silence. Then Zoe said, I'm sorry. For what? For making this complicated. Daniel looked at her. You didn't. I did. How? By letting myself forget this is temporary. Zoe's throat tightened. Daniel? I know what we agreed to. And I know why we're doing this. But somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. He set down his coffee. And that's a problem. Why? Because you're leaving. And I'll be fine. I always am. He paused. But I don't want to be fine. I want to be. What? Happy. Zoe felt tears sting her eyes. Me too. They looked at each other, and the air between them felt electric. Daniel stood. I should go to bed. Daniel, wait. He stopped. Zoe walked over to him. What if we didn't follow the contract? What if we just saw what happened? Zoe. I know it's scary. I'm terrified. But I think. She took a breath. I think I'm falling for you. Daniel stared at her. You can't. Too late. This isn't real. It feels real to me. They stood there, inches apart, both too afraid to move. Then Daniel kissed her. It was soft. Tentative. Like he was asking permission. Zoe kissed him back, and everything else disappeared. When they pulled apart, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea. The worst, Zoe agreed. We're going to regret this. Probably. But I don't care. Me neither. He kissed her again, and Zoe realized something. This wasn't a contract anymore. This was real. The next 3 months were a blur. They stopped pretending. Started dating. Actually dating. Daniel took her to fancy restaurants. She dragged him to street fairs. They laughed. Argued. Made up. And somewhere along the way, the fake marriage became real. But they kept it quiet. Didn't tell Catherine. Didn't tell anyone. It was their secret. Until Marcus found out. He confronted them at a company event. Interesting development. The contract marriage that became real. Daniel stepped in front of Zoe. Stay out of it. Oh, I can't do that. See, if you actually love her, the board might question your judgment. After all, you married a nobody for an inheritance. What else would you do for power? Zoe felt ice in her veins. You're going to tell them? I'm considering it. Do it, Daniel said coldly. And I'll make sure everyone knows you stole my fiancée through blackmail. Marcus paled. You don't have proof. Actually, I do. Emails. Texts. Everything. Daniel smiled. Walk away, Marcus. Or I bury you. Marcus left without another word. Zoe grabbed Daniel's hand. Did you really keep proof? Every single message. Why? Because I knew he'd try something eventually. Daniel squeezed her hand. And nobody threatens my wife. Zoe smiled. Your real wife or your fake wife? Both. That night, they told Catherine everything. She listened quietly, then started laughing. I knew it. You knew what? Daniel asked. That you two were perfect for each other. Why do you think I offered Zoe the contract? Zoe blinked. Wait, you planned this? Not exactly. But I had a feeling. Catherine smiled. You helped me without hesitation. That told me everything I needed to know. So I gave you an opportunity. And you both took it. Daniel shook his head. Mother, you're terrifying. I know, dear. It's one of my best qualities. They all laughed, and Zoe realized something. This family, this crazy, manipulative, loving family, was hers now. For real. 6 months later, Zoe and Daniel stood in front of a different officiant. Their real wedding. Well, intimate. Just the people who mattered. Maya stood beside Zoe as maid of honor. Told you he was hot. You're terrible. You love me. Unfortunately. The ceremony was short. They'd already said the legal words. These were just for them. Do you take this woman to be your wife? For real this time? Daniel smiled. I do. Do you take this man to be your husband? For real this time? Zoe felt tears on her cheeks. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Again. Everyone laughed. Daniel pulled Zoe close and kissed her, and this time it meant everything. When they pulled apart, Catherine was crying. My babies. Mother, please. Let me have this moment. At the reception, Zoe found a quiet corner. Maya joined her. You okay? Yeah. Just thinking. About what? How I almost didn't stop that day. I almost just walked past her. But you didn't. No. I didn't. Zoe smiled. And it changed everything. Good different. The best different. Daniel appeared beside her. Mind if I steal my wife? Only if you promise to bring her back. Deal. They danced, and Zoe rested her head on his chest. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For taking a chance on me. Daniel kissed the top of her head. Thank you for taking a chance on us. I like the sound of that. Me too. And as they swayed to the music, Zoe thought about that moment on the sidewalk. The wheelchair. The decision to stop. Such a small choice. But it had led to everything. To love. To family. To home. Sometimes that's all it takes. One moment. One decision. One person choosing kindness. And everything changes. What did you think of Zoe and Daniel's story? Rate it from 0 to 10 in the comments. And subscribe so you never miss our next story.